Hi everyone, welcome to Warmer. We're your hosts, Jack
and Dan.
Today we're going to be looking at a Necron detachment tier list / leaderboard.
Yeah, our personal opinions. So feel free to fight us in the comments, but it's our personal opinions on how we rank the 5 detachments for the Necrons.
Yeah.
We'll look at them in ascending order. So I'll start with what we perceive to be the weakest. There might be some robust debate about that. It was
heavily debated. It was. I felt insulted when I was sent the list from you, and I was like, "Ooh." So we might split off. We might not.
Yeah.
So more of a conversation.
I might get a black eye. We'll see.
You walked into a door again.
Yeah. But we'll talk about some of the synergies with the strats and enhancements, some of the strengths and weaknesses, and obviously our personal feelings, which in any player is probably the strongest element in and factor in whether you love or hate a detachment. Isn't it?
Definitely is.
But before we get into that, please remember to do the usual things. So like this video. If you haven't got notifications switched on to get our Necron videos, do so, because we'd love to have you as a regular viewer.
Yeah.
And please also share and subscribe if you haven't subscribed. That'd be awesome. Channel's growing really well at the moment, and we do really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Without further ado, then let's dive in. There wasn't that much discussion over this one. I think we both agree that this is
the worst. Yeah. It sounds harsh putting a labeling as the worst because they're all playable, which is in a very good state now. It's all playable.
That's a brilliant context to start with. Yeah, we're very lucky that we've got 5 detachments that you can get play out of.
I would have almost ranked the obeisance flanks at this point. But with the recent changes, I think that's nipped out a bit. Yeah. Should we just crack on then?
Yeah, so it's not the obeisance phalanx, it is the Canoptek court.
That might surprise a lot of people, to be fair.
Yeah, and I think partly this is our experiences of playing it and playing against it.
Yeah.
Do you want to run us through it?
I certainly can, yeah. So the summary side of things. So this attachment is where the Canoptek and the Cryptek units shine. They were super strong, but they've been getting nerfed twice since they came out.
Nerves,
they're now basically a shadow of what the former were.
Yeah.
But they've still got a few tricks of what they can and can't do. But basically I think they've been hit a couple of times now, and that's why they're at the bottom. That's why a lot of people are surprised, being like, "Oh, why is it so low down?" But it's because of the nerfs they've had.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's partly for the nerfs and partly from. I do think playability is a big factor in this. And if a detachment, sometimes a detachment can be strong, but if it's not fun to play.
What's the point?
What's the point?
Yeah.
But let's what about the detachment rule?
Detachment rule. Well, do you want to go for this one?
I can do.
The next one on the list I want to cover. So because I've got a bone to pick with you on that one.
I mean, detachment rule is pretty cool actually. It's quite beginner friendly, I would say.
Yeah.
So basically, all your units can always reroll hits of 1, and then if the unit is in your power matrix, you can reroll all hit rolls. And your power matrix is if you control a majority of objectives in that zone of the battlefield at the end of any phase.
Yeah.
So at the end of the movement phase, if you control no man's land, then it becomes part of your power matrix in the ensuing shooting phase.
Yeah.
So that's it's relatively nice and simple. It's actually quite strong. It's a good rule and it's easy to grasp, which I like.
Exactly. And I think we'll get onto the downsides of it later. But as of now, pretty strong. What units work best? So again, we've mentioned them before, but they're Canoptek units and the Cryptek units.
Yes.
The best attachment for Canoptek Doomstalker by miles. Got some really good synergies later on. And then also ditto with the Wraiths and the Spiders. They're the ones that primarily benefit from the majority of stratagems and the majority of just general enhancements.
Yes, because you need those Canoptek or Cryptek keywords, don't you, for most of those strats.
Exactly right.
Good.
Moving on to the enhancement side of things.
I think they're actually pretty good and fairly well priced, which obviously is part of the reason why you'd say they're good.
Yeah.
But my personal favourite is Dimensional Sanctum to give a unit infiltrate. That's still pretty powerful on the unit of race with Technomancer.
Oh yeah,
get them up the board early.
You want them up the board because they're just so tough. Getting them up the board early is just an absolute benefit. You'll hop on an objective and you're pretty much there.
The
rest of the game.
Very hard to shift. Yes.
Very
good.
Nice.
What about the stratagems, mate?
So stratagem, we got a great combination of offensive and defensive stratagems, but one of the good ones is counter temporal shift.
Oh yes,
it gives the unit 16-inch lone up for 1 CP.
18-inch lone up. Yes.
Really cheap, but also really powerful.
Yeah.
Especially those units that you have, especially the Canoptek Wraiths. They're strong as they are, but giving them that extra, you can't actually shoot me anymore.
Your long-range guns can't shoot them. I like it a lot on the Doomstalkers as well.
Exactly.
Helps keep them alive a lot longer.
Now, this one used to be 12 inches, I believe, but that subseded Lone Operative, but this is one of the recent changes that they've made, where it's now 18 instead of 12.
Yeah.
Another not buff. Weakness.
There's another slight nerf to it.
Nerf, that's the word. Good think of the word there.
It felt, I mean, the nerf. We'll talk about this later. The nerf stacked on top of the nerfs is what happens. GW often does this, and I don't think they realise how they all kind of impact together. Yeah. But as an individual nerf, this wasn't too bad.
Correct.
It kind of felt fair.
Yeah. Another one. There's reactive subroutines. So you run away if enemy unit comes closer within 9 inches.
Yeah, if you come within 9 inches, you can make a move, which I really quite like. Again, for things like your Doomstalker, if they drop in for. And they're moving towards you to try and make an 8-inch charge or something. You can just go, nah.
Exactly. Get away. Keep them safer. That a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Do you want to jump onto some strengths of this attachment then, Dan?
Yeah. Talking about Doomstalkers, I think Doomstalkers in your deployment zone, they're very potent damage dealers in Overwatch threats because your deployment zone is always your power matrix, even if you don't control your home objective. So they're always going to be re-rolling all hits.
Yeah.
And Overwatch-wise, Doomstalkers overwatch on 5s rather than 6s.
Yeah.
So for Overwatch in your deployment zone, you are rolling to re-rolling all your hits and hitting on 5s instead of 6s. You can do a lot of damage,
and it's got really good range as well, so it can sit in your deployment.
And as long as you get it in a firing lane, it's there all game, and it can put some work in.
Very nice.
We're still regularly seeing 3 of those bad boys on the back lines of this detachment in lists. I think units like Immortals can also get access to the detachment rule, at least by you can take Cryptex as leaders. So Cryptek, they get the Cryptek keyword, and then they get the benefits of the reroll hits, etc. The power matrix benefits. And as we just touched on, the strats and enhancements are actually pretty good. Like so, on strength wise, there are still a lot of ticks in the box. You might wonder why we've put this at the bottom. But do you want to run us through some of the weaknesses?
Certainly can. So the Wraiths have been nerfed really hard over the last few balanced data slates. Obviously, looking at one squad, it's it's good, but again, 2 squads is pricey.
My personal opinion is that it's more like 1 squad, and that kind of gutted the detachment because you were seeing competitively, a minimum of 2 squads, usually 3 squads of Wraith with a Technomancer moving up the mid board and holding it all game, which was a bit, it's a bit obnoxious. But they've nerfed them so bad now that it's hard to justify taking more than 1 in your list, isn't it?
Exactly right. Again, with the Scarabs as well, I absolutely love these little guys back in 9th, units, but they're now useless being at 0 OC. So can't do any secondaries, can't hold objectives, just a bit of a shame.
Yeah, and with them being, every Necron player owns loads of these because they come with the Warriors, don't they? So,
exactly.
It's a shame to not be able to use them and they've got the Canoptic keyword, so it's a shame, really.
Can't be used. And they're obviously quite CP hungry as well, and most of their things are like 2 and then 1s. And
we've got that's the thing. There's some great strats there, but you are going to want to be using them a lot, aren't you? So it does. You do burn through the CP a bit.
Exactly. Can be a bit boring to play. Especially with playing against as well. They've got really good survivability, plus the reanimation that we've not even mentioned so far. They're really tanky, really hard to shift, really hard to hit. And then even when you do hit and do wound and do kill one, they're going to come back because of reanimation. So it can be a bit boring, a bit sluggish, and you're just moving up the board. And good for you because you're winning, but then also boring because they've got some damage, but not loads. Especially melee,
I would think so. You can get some decent damage on things like Doomstalkers is a bit swingy because it's D6 plus 1 shots, I think, isn't it? Or D6. But there's the damage output from the Wraiths isn't that good. It wouldn't be fair if it was because, like you said, they've increased their tankiness, but their damage, obviously, if they were also super damage intense, then it would just be too overpowered.
Exactly.
You're getting into like Deathwing Knights territory for Dark Angels there.
Exactly.
Which I don't like.
No. Thanks, Lewis. You know who you are there.
Speaking of which, though, do you play this detachment then?
So I've played it a couple of times, but I've played it more versing. Like I've played other people more, and I've not lost against them yet. So
that's interesting.
This is kind of, I guess, jumps on the same thing where it's like, well, they can see why it's one of the lowest ones for. But that's my personal opinion.
I think it was super strong before the nerfs, but after the nerfs, it's just predictable. It's difficult. Again, apologies to those of you that like to play this detachment. Let us know in the comments what your strategies and tactics and combos are, because I'm not really seeing them when I'm playing against this at all. No, again they are because again they're tough. So it's like, right, well, I know you're tough. I know you're not going to do a lot of damage. I know you're going to get on the objective. So if I've got more melee than you, I'll just out OC you, or 2, I'll just wait for you to jump on the objective and I'll just shoot you down. And then
pick up the points turn 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah, or just now that a lot of lists are only running one unit of race, would do that classic thing where you're like, well, that's your point sink of race that's going to go onto that.
I'll just avoid it.
I'm just going to avoid that.
It's easy, like 350 plus points with the Technomancer and such. So yeah, avoid it.
Yeah, and the same. I played it and played against it and didn't really enjoy either. I mean, I really loved Doomstalkers, and I love that they're good in this detachment. Yeah. So I'm kind of glad it exists, but I'm still not. That's not enough of a reason to make me play it. Really.
Yeah, it's very true.
So that's why, as much as as much as you can still get strong lists in it, I think it's harder to play to get competitively. It's harder to get strong lists. Yeah. But also neither of us enjoy the playability side of it. Nah. So that's why it's trash. It's at the bottom.
Trash. Yeah. Now, take care. This is interesting. This one. So the next one that
yes,
I'm joking.
You can probably tell who wrote the script here. Yeah.
The next one is the Annihilation Legion. It's second last.
She's caused a mini meltdown last night.
I thought about it for a long time, and I think you're not wrong. I think it's more just me piloting this list, I feel more comfortable piloting this list than maybe the later detachments. That's why I think this one deserves to be.
And do you know what? There isn't a right or wrong. I think and again, let us know when we've tiered them all, ranked them all, if you think that any of them are in the wrong place. And Jack certainly thinks this one should be further up. Yeah, and I think, I mean, it's one of partly it might just be your saltiness, because this was my favourite way to run the Novok detachment in 9th. Was my favourite way to run them. Loads of Scorpex, really choppy. Necron War at the board. It was great fun.
It was. All your Scorpex destroyers.
It was the only melee way to play Necrons in 9th, and probably still is to a certain degree.
Yeah. So without further ado, I don't know if we mentioned it, but it's the Annihilation Legion coming in at second last. So this one again is a very destroyer cult heavy, very destroyer.
Yeah, it's very thematic, isn't it?
It certainly is. Again, as you say, basically the Novek dynasty from 9th edition. Detachment rule side of things then. So these guys, each time a destroyer cult or flayed one unit from your army declares a charge roll, you reroll the charge roll. Nice. Which is flat. It's okay. It's nice. We'll get into why it's not very good later. If one of the more targets of the charge is below half strength, you add one to the charge roll. So not amazing.
It's not the strongest army rule or detachment rule in the codex, is it?
Exactly. I think the issue is that there isn't that many destroyer cult ones that want to charge. Yeah. Because there's a few units out there that have the destroyer cult or flayed ones thingy, but then
you might not really want to get them in combat.
Not at all. Yeah. Not at all.
So on that note, what units do we think work best in this? I mean, one of them obviously had to put in here, otherwise it wouldn't have been allowed in the car this morning. But nope. Flayed ones.
Flayed ones, got to have the flayed ones.
Yeah, you're a big fan of those.
Big fan. Bring 30 of them.
Yeah. And then
minimum 20.
The other thing that with like things with the destroyer cult keyword, you've got Locust and Locust heavy destroyers, which are shooty ones. Yep. You've got Ophidian destroyers, which can be choppy but mainly used for uppy downy.
Uppy downy secondaries, for sure.
And then you've got Scorpex and the Scorpec Lord. Yeah. And that's it.
So half of those units, you're not going to benefit from the charge.
No.
You don't want your Locust and the heavies and destroyers.
I mean, possibly a Locust Lord can slap in combat.
Oh, he claps, but that's one of 6. It's one of 7.
You don't want the rest of the unit in combat, do you? No.
Not
if your Locust heavies are getting tired of in combat, something's gone wrong.
What are you doing? Yeah. So half of those guys aren't going to benefit from it. So this is why I've begrudgingly agreed that this should be below the other ones, because it's just not good synergies basically.
I mean, also on the strats and enhancement side, enhancements I think it's fair to say are not the best in the codex either.
No, not amazing. I mean, on paper sounds great, but again, it's on a 4-up. So the enhancement, it's the Eternal Madness. You get 4-up on a fight on death. Yeah. So look, 25 points. Look, on paper it's good, but 4+ for again, you're gonna have that's gonna have to go on the Scorpec destroyers. Yes. Because flayed ones can't have a leader. Yeah. So you can't have them in there. You don't want it on the
your Locusts again.
Locusts because they're not very good in combat. So again, you're tied/limited to only putting on this on the Scorpec Lord.
It's just I almost feel like Scorpex should have this built in.
Yeah. Just for that extra damage.
Yeah. And I still we still personally, I think agree that score packs are slightly overpriced still.
Yeah.
It's like 100 points for 3, 200 points for 6, and it just, if they had this for free, that would get them to where they need to be, in my opinion. That's for another video altogether.
Yeah.
But the strats are actually pretty good.
I love the strats in this one. Yeah, really, really good.
You make good use of them as well, don't you?
Always times. So the third, sorry, do you want me to talk?
No,
I'm so passionate about it.
No, definitely. This is definitely your field of expertise.
All my cups of tea. So the stratagems, I make use of this all the time, and it's great because it's not so much CP hungry, because yes, you do go through the CP fast, but you never really you're never spending more than what you need.
Right, that's good. Lovely. Yeah, you never feel like you're desperate for more.
Exactly. And they always come around at the same time. So the first one is Mask of Death. So it's -1 to hit, which is really, really good. And then the Spore of Fertility, which is +1.
The Spore of Frailty, yes. I love this one.
Yep, so basically +1 to hit and below starting strength. So most of the time, at that point, you can be below the units.
Chip. All you have to do is chip a model off before you get in there. That's good.
Exactly. And you get a +1 to wound if they're below half strength. So it's kind of good because it's like, all right, well, I'm going to get 1 CP when it comes round to my opponent's turn. So then I'll have the Mask of Death parked.
Yes.
Then on the flip side, when you go onto your turn, where you're going to be dealing the damage, that's when the Spore of Frailty comes in. So that's why you never really...
That's quite
easy.
I could, even my monkey brain could pilot that because they know what I'm doing in each turn with my CP pretty much.
Exactly.
And you've also got, I do quite like Insanity's Ire, which is basically Blood Surge, where if they shoot you can move closer towards them.
Really good for Scorpex. Or the flayed ones. Yeah.
So you've got options there.
It definitely is there. Yeah. So I if you're not using them each turn, you're doing something wrong.
Yes.
Basically, when you place the attachment.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're making a strong case here.
Exactly. I tell you that they need to go higher. Strengths. Do you want to cover the strengths?
Yeah. I mean, I'll start this one, but I'd really like your input because if you are a Necrons player and you've been paying attention to flayed ones and what we just talked about that is an amazing synergy. You can make flayed ones really nasty.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And if I'm reading this right, then because if flayed ones go into their natural ability is innate ability. If you go into a unit that's below half strength, you can
every successful hit roll is a critical roll.
Right.
So that means sustained 1.
Yes.
So every hit is sustained 1.
And they normally hit on 4s, is that right?
3s. And then using the strat, you are then hitting on 2s.
And at every 2 up is a sustained hit.
Correct. Correct.
And then if because the unit's below half strength, you're getting +1 to wound as well.
Exactly. And on top of that, they're twin linked. So you
rerolling the wounds.
Rerolling the wounds.
You could put the hurt on almost anything. Like
it's
a
all
big
chip
tank,
damage,
a monster. Yeah. You could really do some work.
Yeah. I think I went in. I had a squad of 20, just at the Warmer World that we recently had this year.
Squad of 10.
Squad of 20. Oh no, sorry, squad of 10. Sorry,
yes.
Squad of 10. Squad of 10 went in.
I hope you didn't have a squad of 20.
No, I didn't. I didn't. I was thinking, I was like, no, I didn't.
Yeah.
Because I brought three squads of 10.
Yeah, 3 squads of 10. Yeah.
So full squad went in. I came. They got 4 attacks each. So it's 20 attacks.
Wow.
I walked with 48 hits.
So you actually hit more times than you.
More than double from what I went in because the unit was below half strength.
Right.
All the hits plus the extra 1 to hit. All the wounds, it was incredible. The unit was gone, basically.
They'll mince through most things.
I was a full squad of Space Marines, so just completely gone with ones to spare. So yeah, honestly, if you're not, and again, on the flip side, great damage, great chip damage. But on the flip side, I love using them as those little infiltrators. Squad of 5, bring 2 of them. Put them
because they've got the infiltrate keyword, haven't they?
Yeah. You just put them up the board, real nice and easy, and you're capping those early game objectives super fast. So really worth it.
I think it's almost a shame that they're not battle line they should have gained the battle line keyword in this detachment so you could take more because you almost want a couple of little squads for your early early secondaries and board control, and then 3 squads of 10 to come and mince things up.
Exactly. And then on top of that, if they did make them battle line, it would be nice to have some sort of overload that's corrupted with the flayed virus. Yeah. Because then we'll have an overload or something like that, or a load that goes in that.
They need a leader in the unit.
Just to have that accessibility for those enhancements.
Yes.
Because as of now, they don't benefit from any of them.
That's very true.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, there's a few other weaknesses in terms of I think you hit the nail on the head earlier with with the first one here.
Yep. Just limited numbers. Yeah. They don't have that many units that benefit from this, and again, how other detachments and other armies, you could have a squad of Lich Guard that get the cryptech keyword because you're putting a cryptech in it. No other units can join the flayed ones. You can't get those benefits.
Yeah, exactly. I think leaders is a big thing. Yeah. And the army rule, as you said, most of the strats don't actually help the locust destroy units, do they?
Nah, because
-1 to hit, I guess, might be handy or whatever. But
decent, yeah. But again, like as we mentioned before, you don't want to be charging your destroyers in either, so you're not going to benefit from the detachment rule. So it's very limited. Very limited.
As much as we both enjoy flayed ones, you've been a flayed ones enjoyer for many years. The Scorpex also in this edition are just not what they were in 9th either, are
they had much better AP in the last edition. I think at one point you could get them up to -4 with the enhancements and stratagems.
I think with on the charge and with the strat, I think you could get them up to like they had 2 different weapon profiles. The little choppers up to AP4 and the big one up to AP5.
Something crazy. But now it's like flat 2 or something like that, and it's like it's not as good.
Yeah, so that also means that it's not quite. If Scorpex were better, this would be a stronger detachment. Yeah. Most of these detachments are kind of themed around usually a couple of big centerpiece units. Yeah. And if this one's themed around Scorpex, they're not good enough to theme a detachment.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Okay, and on that note, do you play? I mean, I hate it.
Yeah. Don't like the statue.
I mean, don't like it. As you just mentioned, you actually took this to Warhammer World. This is one of your go-to detachments.
If I need a quick list, that's just fun. I enjoy it. It's not meta, but it's like we're gonna have a good game. Yeah, this is the list I bring. Because it's really good back and forth.
But you've actually also done all right with it. Like your win rate's quite good. I think you did all right at a tournament with it.
I looked on the app. I think my win rate's about 81, 82%.
Wow, that's really good.
I really like the way I piloted it.
And you took it to a proper RTT nearly a year ago now.
Yeah.
One of Ricky's events, wasn't it?
Came quite high there.
To the brink, I'm sure you got a podium, didn't you?
I did, yeah. I think it was like at least top 5 at least. I don't remember exactly when, but definitely, yeah. Did I get a thing?
I can't remember.
I might got the... I got that one.
He's got so many trophies, he's lost track. But yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, it definitely... I it's like that Star Wars quote from Ahsoka. I love the idea of it, but the actuality of it is not. It's not quite as. And it just needs reworking in my opinion.
No,
just the fact that the army rule, the majority of enhancements and strats only affect basically 3 units, is not good enough for me.
Yeah.
So that's why it's low down. But for playability and personal affection, it's much higher up for you.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. At least 2, second, third, first. It might even be first, to be fair.
And I'm going to keep making this point, but that is the most important factor. Like whatever a tier list is, in terms of like this is trash or this is great or whatever. If you don't feel that and you feel differently, then just ignore us and ignore anybody else.
Stop the video.
Yeah,
stop watching it.
your personal enjoyment at 40k has to trump anything else.
Definitely.
And speaking of which, we've been enjoying this detachment a little bit more recently.
Certainly have the Obeison's Phalanx detachment. One that's been rising up recently.
Yeah, so this is definitely the one for Necron Noble enthusiasts. And I think it was very much previously cast into the cold. It was only for fluffy games.
Yeah.
But it's now a competitive contender, I think.
The recent changes that they've been making there, for sure. Do you want to run through it?
Detachment rule-wise. So the detachment rule is the Necron version of Oath of Moment, which again is nice and easy to pick up. It's basically called Worthy Foes. You pick an enemy unit in the command phase, and Noble, Lich Guard, and Triarch units in your army get +1 to wound against it, and +1 to wound is big in this edition.
Really good.
Yeah. And that's actually covers quite a lot of units as we'll come on to now. So what units work best with this?
So there's loads of them. So bear with me. So there's the Noble, Lich Guard, and Triarch keyword units.
Which is quite a lot actually, isn't it?
Really a lot. And this now includes a Silent King, because that was for some reason for a year and a half?
Yeah, it's been over a year that he hasn't had his own keyword. Yeah.
Get on it.
He literally has the Triarch on the model.
They're literally Triarchs. Those 2 guys. That's them. But yes, so that's those ones. And then we've got obviously the Lich Guard, the Triarch Praetorians, Triarch Stalkers.
Triarch Stalkers are so sexy right now.
Really looking so hot right now.
Yeah.
Overlords, when you're leading them, you can give obviously the keyword now to the Immortals / Warriors.
A bit like the Canoptic Court. Like if you put a Cryptek in a unit, they gain the keyword.
Exactly.
So they get it right.
Good. So now there's just a big selection of units to benefit from it, whereas the Annihilation Legion, you're limited.
Yeah.
Hence why, in our opinion, it's
I would say so. I think you always want more toys to play with, don't you?
Exactly.
What about strats and enhancements? What do we think about these?
Not too bad, to be fair. A little bit pricey, but obviously the Warrior Noble, 15 points, -1 a hit in melee.
Yeah, so, I mean, I would pay that one, I think. Yeah. I mean, the one
15 points you always get to the end of the list, you've got like 25, 30, 15 points spare. So
it's very rare that you hit it on the nose, isn't it? 2,000 points. And this one, I mean, I put down, maybe it's a bit pricey, but I'm not so sure. It's 25 points. It's Eternal Conqueror, so you reroll, which gives you reroll hits if your opponent's on an objective.
Yeah.
But that's actually pretty strong.
It's not bad. That is not bad. Got to get on the objective, of course.
Yeah,
but that's where the game is typically held anyway.
Yeah, so exactly. Yeah,
benefiting from it. Yeah,
so
that's pretty good.
What about the stratagems? What do you think about these?
So again, pretty good. They've got the Enslaved Artifice for 1 CP. Is great. Gives them criticals on 5s. That is always amazing. Like that, I've always loved that Annihilation Legion with some of the units I give it. So massive. It comes in massive because a lot of Necron guys have lethal hits. So that's why criticals on 5s is better because lethal hits going from 6s to 5s, auto wounding. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah, definitely. And this is one of the reasons why some players like running warriors or with obviously warriors have Gauss weapons, but the mortals you can choose between Gauss and Tesla.
Correct.
So you can take your sustained hits on 5s with your Tesla or your lethal hits on 5s with your Gauss. And I do like the lethals because you can put some hurt on on big things again, can't you?
Really good stuff, mate. Really good stuff. I think it just fits the bill for everything because again, you're against tanks, lethal hits on 5s.
Yeah.
But you're going to get a few through.
Yeah,
amazing.
Yeah, you're not wasting your shots, are you?
Nah. Not at all.
The other one is in the right hands. I think Territorial Obsession is a great stratagem because this gives extra OC. I think it's +3 OC.
Yep.
And it's more if it's a vehicle or something like that.
So again, with that one, you stack that with the Silent King. Because again, the Silent King, him in itself is 1, and then they've got the 2 Minios.
Yeah.
So those guys are vehicles too. So I think this is like, it's like, since they're vehicles, it's like, I think like 2. I think let's just say he's 6. I don't know what it is off the top of my head. 6 and 2, but then this is now 9 because it's 6, 7, 8, and 9.
Yeah.
And then 2, they're going to 5, so that's 5, 10, 16.
19.
Oh, 19.
Yeah, it's an insane amount of OC that you can put on the Silent King, and that can swing a game.
Easily swing a game. Yeah, if you get him on an objective and you just pop on him, stealing it easily.
So I like that a lot, and I think strengths wise, I mean, speaking of the Silent King, if you love the Silent King, this is the detachment for you because he is much more playable in this one, I think, than some of the others.
Definitely. He's not more playable now than he was. So I think again, people are going to be maybe a little bit shocked, be like, "Oh, why is this ranking so high for?" But people are now playing him. And he's doing really well. He's doing really well.
He's back on a competitive scene, and this detachment is definitely back on a competitive scene. It's early days yet because I think the season's just started, hasn't it, for ITC or whatever. But whether you sometimes get the element of surprise early on in the season, and then as the season progresses, players figure out how to play, how to counter it against it. They watch our videos and skip straight to the how to play against this
exactly.
unit. Yeah.
I love it. Hey,
good.
But no, very nice. Most of the units can obviously gain access to the Army Rule, which is a really good strength. Some of the synergies that we've got going on are pretty cheap with the power.
Some of the units like Triac Praetorians and Stalkers are looking very attractive right now. Stalkers are basically our only access to kind of torrent weapons, I think.
Yeah.
So that in itself is quite handy in this edition at the moment.
Yeah.
Particularly with Overwatch and that kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
And I think most units can gain access to the Army Rule, which is a big plus in my book, as we talked about before.
Yeah.
There's a couple of weaknesses though. I mean, one is perhaps situational, but newer Necron players might not have any of the good units that we've just talked about there because they haven't been fashionable.
Exactly, they've been bad for so long.
No one's been building Triac Stalkers or buying Triac Praetorians because they've been trash for over a year.
Exactly.
So it's a top tip for you: if you're buying second hand, always buy on the dip. Whatever units are bad, buy them because 9 times out of 10 in a year's time they'll be good.
Buy the dip, sell the high.
Buy the dip, sell the high. Yep. That's why we're all so rich. Yeah. I'm not. Should listen to my own advice. But the other thing is playstyle wise.
I've never been a fan of castling up, really.
The Silent King kind of, because of his aura abilities and stuff, he kind of encourages you to castle up, and it's not a way.
It's not my play style, but it works really well.
Yeah,
a couple of Doomstalkers next to him alongside the Minears.
Yeah,
you're laughing, absolutely laughing.
Yeah, I fully agree. And on that note, are you playing it much at the moment?
Absolutely. Annihilation Legion needs to be ahead of this before I even consider.
This is a protest. I'm surprised you haven't brought a little sign.
Make Annihilation great again.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, but no, honestly, no. I mean, I've been building lists recently, so I've not played this detachment load. I've played against it a couple of times.
Yes.
And I've seen a lot of other people play it and do really well. I mean, Nick from
Nick from Idic Beer, yes,
he's been playing
the
a few
King of
reports.
Necron YouTube. Yeah,
He's making the detachment work really well. So the games I'm seeing playing of it, I can see why it's up there. And again, the stratagems and the synergies, it's all there for this detachment.
Yeah,
now.
if you haven't seen any Nick's battle reports, go and watch the recent ones, because whenever you watch somebody like that play, it's their style is always slightly different to yours, or usually is. So it gave me loads of ideas. Like, I hadn't thought of doing that.
Yep.
So he's definitely worth a watch. His latest one, absolutely, with obeisance phalanx against Richard Zorks again, isn't it?
Yep.
It's a really good video. I mean, I'm currently trying to work on a list without the Silent King to see if I can make that work. Because while he does work in this detachment, I'm wondering, does he have to be there?
That's true. I feel he doesn't have to be there, but he just benefits greatly from him.
I think so.
Being there.
I think so. And I'm not sure. I'll give it a go and see if it's possible. But
Nice.
I think you need him, and I think you do need to kind of castle up a little bit.
Definitely.
But if you've got different ways of playing a business phalanx, let us know. Also, let us know what kind of luck you are having with Triarch Praetorians, because I'm really interested in them at those points. Triarch Stalkers are an auto include, as far as I'm concerned. I can't see like running this detachment without them.
Yeah.
But whether Triarch Praetorians are finally getting some love, I don't know.
I bought a couple of boxes to get painted up and some new paints when we're trying as well.
Nice.
So we'll see a game of that in the future, I think.
Excellent.
Very good. Very good. Well, move on to the second to best.
Yes, so that's we've covered bottom and mid tier, and we can argue over which tier Annihilation Legion should be in.
Swiftly, Dan, please.
I think we're getting into good territory here, and this
Yeah.
might surprise a few people, but we've got the penultimate one is
the Awakened Dynasty.
Yeah.
It's really good. It's really good. So this is the OG detachment from the index.
Yes.
It's a great starter detachment. It's easy to remember stuff. Very stuff that I think it's a lot of this stuff that's in this detachment has been brought from 9th.
Yeah.
So hence why people are going to be a lot easier to remember.
That's a brilliant point. I hadn't thought of it like that, as it felt the most 9th edition out of them all, didn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Very balanced between offensive and defensive play as well. We've got some really good stratagems. Obviously stuff that can bring your guy back as well later on.
Yeah.
Especially if you've misplayed. So detachment rule, do you want to dive into that?
Yeah, this one's lovely and simple, isn't it? It's called Command Protocols. When a Necron's character model is leading a unit, that unit gets +1 to hit.
It's just
very, very simple.
It's again easy to remember, and it's just like you don't have to. Think about Warhammer. There's too many things going on.
Yeah.
So having just something simple, be like, all right, cool. I'm hit on freeze. Right, that's 4. Become being led.
Yeah.
Nice and easy. Kept it nice.
One thing I always forget, which is worth remembering, is if you've got the Overlord with the War Scythe normally hits on 3s, but he benefits from his own rule if he's leading the unit. So you can get him back to hitting on 2s with the War Scythe, which is really nice.
Exactly.
That puts some work in that
Or
side.
the Void Scythe going from 4s to 3s as well.
Yeah.
Even better.
Good.
But yeah, obviously, so again, very, very simple, but obviously the units that can lead them, basically any unit that can be led is the kicker. So that's Immortals, Warriors, Locust Heavy Destroyers, Scobex, and Wraiths.
Yes.
The good thing about this is that this hasn't limited your model range, like the Annihilation Legion. I'm going back to that one because I love it. Annihilation Legion, they can only benefit from Scobex Destroyers and Lords, whereas this one is
there's a lot of
across the range.
Yeah, there's a lot of units. It's only really like some vehicles and a few of the edge cases that aren't able to benefit.
Exactly.
So in that case, it's quite universal. That's good.
Yep.
And strats and enhancements are not bad, are they?
Not bad at all. Not bad at all. The enhancement side, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I mean they're solid but not spectacular is probably how I'd rate them. So the Veil of Darkness was an absolute must take in 9th edition, which kind of been surpassed by the Hypercrypt Legion. It does the same sort of thing, but it's just one unit, isn't it?
Exactly.
You can move one unit,
and it's just once per game.
Yeah,
Veil of Darkness is once you pop it, you're done.
If you are a player that likes that kind of mobility, play Hypercrypt.
Yeah. Exactly.
The one that I really need to try out more is Phasal Subjugator, which is, I think, if you're a good general, that could be really interesting, because this is the one that gives a character model the aura, and then any unit around it counts as being led.
There we go.
So if you put it on a Hexmark Destroyer, which has Lone Operative, then you can stick it next to some Doomstalkers or some Doomsday Arcs.
Even flayed ones. Units that can't be led are now being led.
Count as being led. So that's very...
It's really good.
Yeah. I like it as a backfield thing because of the lone op side of it. So you can't... It's difficult to snipe out the Hexmark. So your big units is getting that benefit for longer in many cases. But it's... I mean, a Hexmark and this is adding like 100 points just to get a Doomsday Arc to hit on +1.
People like to combo the Hexmark with the snipers, the
Death Marks.
Because obviously Death Marks hit on freeze. 2s if they stand still, but when the deep strike in with
counters movement. Yeah,
it's good.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Yes, you could pop out some little low level characters with that.
Easily
snipe them out.
Easily done.
Good.
Stratagem wise, again, a good mix. Again, this is where the blend comes in of the offensive and defensive. So you got the protocol of the Undying Legion. So this is basically that triggers your reanimation protocols.
Nice.
So again, this is really, really good. This is when you lose a few models, you can basically trigger it again to bring a few of those ones back.
I like it.
It's just that survivability, especially like the fight. If you're in the shooting phase and you need a few of those models alive, or if you're in the fight phase and you need some of them alive to take back the objective, it's a good way of doing it.
Yeah,
really good way of doing it.
It's worth pointing out that an Overlord lets you do one strat for -1 CP, and this one was super popular before they nerfed that rule because you could do it on multiple units each turn. So every unit, like an Overlord in every unit, could just go, I'm going to reanimation protocols for nothing. Why wouldn't you?
Nah, exactly.
What's the next one?
The next one is the protocol of the Eternal Revenant.
Yes, well done.
There we go. They basically resurrect a character.
I love this one so much.
It's anti-position.
Yeah.
Anti-position.
Yeah,
so position takes down a character, bring that character back, leading the unit again. 1 CP. Really good for that
absolute bargain.
Yeah, it's an absolute bargain.
On I didn't put it on here, but on the offensive side, you've got Hungry Void, which is +1 strength and +1 AP, I think, if the unit's been led, which is quite good. And there's another one, I think there's a couple of others on the like you can ignore cover and stuff, which is a bit not great. But weakness-wise, as I touched on before, some units are locked out of the detachment rule, like Flayed Ones, Ophidians, and all your vehicles.
Not so much locked out anymore now, though, because with the enhancement.
Yes, if you can use the enhancement, then that kind of negates that issue. So even the weakness isn't that bad.
Nah. Compared to some of the other ones in the lower down in the list.
Yeah,
it's not as many weaknesses.
No, I like it a lot.
As I think.
I mean, another weakness, I suppose, is if your opponent's got lots of precision, they're going to shoot your characters out. Once your characters are gone, you're in trouble. But with that strat to bring your characters back and stuff, you can kind of counteract that as well.
Yeah, probably worth mentioning. You can only use that stratagem once for that character.
Once for each character unit, yes. Yeah. But you can play it over the course of the game. You can play it once on lots of different characters.
Correct. Yeah, exactly.
Good. And obviously, we've both played a bit of this. Did you enjoy it?
I loved it. Yeah, it was really good because, again, obviously this was the index one, so we've played the absolute
played
hell
it to death.
We played it loads, so we're very comfortable with it. And I think it is just that, like, if I want a nice chill game, this is probably a one that I do pick up because Hypercup's good, but you got to remember where to move around and such.
Yeah.
Annihilation Legion's good, but again, you've got to really play the list as it is. This one, you can kind of whack any sort of unit in here and just have a good game.
Yeah, good pickup game. Yeah, I fully agree with you.
So I think it's got a lot of flavour and it's got a lot of that survivability, but also offensiveness to actually contest a good game. So yeah, I'd say it's definitely.
I think I got to the point where I just felt I'd played it to death. And I feel now like I'm ready to give it another go. Particularly with some of the points changes that we've had, you can start thinking about other ways to run it. But it's definitely it's up here for a reason. It's user friendly. It's got quite a lot of scope and depth in terms of what you can bring.
Yeah.
So it's definitely, if you haven't tried, it's definitely worth running.
Definitely. Last one then, Dan.
Yes.
The pinnacle of Necron detachments.
Yeah, they're right at the apex there. As no surprises here, probably is it's Hypercrypt Legion.
Yes.
Necrons do Grey Knights, but better.
Exactly.
Does what I do, but better.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's a very powerful detachment, lots of movement shenanigans. Do you want to take us through the detachment rule?
Certainly can. So basically at the end of your opponent's turn, you can remove up to 3 warrior, it's depending on how many points you're playing, but if you're playing a 2,000 point list, you can take 3 Necron units off the table and bring them back and redeploy them in your reinforcement step of your turn.
Your next movement phase. That's
so
nice.
It's just that flexibility of getting around the board, getting in the right positions, doing those secondary objectives. You can easily see why this is the most played and the best one for the win rate, because it's just got
competitively it's very strong.
It is.
It's almost a bit cheaty. Like I complain on here about Eldar a lot because they can manipulate dice in a dice game.
Yes.
It's almost like you're not playing the game, but this allows you to manipulate movement in a game where movement's massive.
Exactly.
So, it's very strong.
It's been hit a couple of times with nerfs, like the monsters can't benefit from this anymore.
Yeah, certain strats and stuff,
Yeah, but however, realistically, it's just still good. It's just still good.
And it's also got quite a lot of options in terms of how you want to play it.
Yeah.
Do you want to run us through the units?
It certainly can. So we've got the Monolith, the Hexmark Destroyer, the Death Marks, the Immortals with the Plasmancer, Locust Destroyers and Heavies, Doomsday Arcs, Kitans, and the Night Scythe.
The Night Scythe is but there's a lot of units there.
Hidden gem.
Yeah.
Lots of hidden gems in there.
Yeah. You can play it in different. There's lots of different ways to play it.
And I think this is awkward because like we've just rattled through that list, but we could probably spend 10 minutes talking about why each of those units work really well. And it's just too good.
Yes. Well, if you haven't seen our unit review videos where we take an individual Necron unit, go and look at the back catalogue, because a lot of these we will talk about why they are, particularly all the units we've just listed there, is how they work in this detachment.
Definitely.
So rather than us do it all over again, it's but you can see there's an awful lot there, and then also from enhancements and stratagems that they're also pretty decent as well. Aren't they?
Really, really good. Really, really good. Do you want to start off with the enhancements?
Yeah, so I think they're really good and they synergize really well with the detachment rule.
Yeah.
So Arisen Tyrant is 25 points. Reroll all hit rolls if the unit was set up on the battlefield this turn. It's very strong. I mean, you can see straight,
right?
Yeah.
You take them off the board, bring them back on.
Reroll all hit rolls. Thank you very much.
You've got that long range side of things where you can just basically 24-inch range, keep them safe so you're not going to get counter charged and still get the shots off. It's just a no-brainer.
Yeah. It's a must. It's an auto include, isn't it?
Oh, 100%.
The next one is the Osteoclave Fulcrum.
Nice.
Which is a fancy way of saying it's 20 points to give a unit the deep strike keyword.
That's not bad.
But again, it perfectly synergizes with this. So if you've got a unit that normally can only come back on from using the army rule from board edges, give it deep strike.
Yeah, exactly.
There's
probably a good one for that one is the Doomsday Arc, one of them.
So
you can't give it to
No, you can give it to, something like, it would be great if you could.
I was just thinking that for a second.
Something like a unit of...
maybe a Lich Guard to get them in the right position.
Lich Guard, Immortal, something like that would be really, really handy. And it's also got the best stratagem in the game, which we talk about every week.
Do we? Yeah. Do we mention it on every video? Cosmic Precision.
Yes.
So absolute unreal stratagems. That allows you, if you don't know what it is, if you've not watched our videos before, it basically allows you to deep strike within just outside of 3 inches.
That's
of
right.
an enemy unit.
And the unit doesn't have to have the deep strike keyword either, which is great.
It's it's like if it has deep strike keyword, always been hyperphased this turn. Yeah. So again, just everything about this detachment speaks to each other.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like the other detachments compared to this one fall down in a couple of different areas.
I fully agree with you. There is this one has the most interconnectivity, if you like, between all the elements. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Speaking of that, strength wise, we've already talked about some of this, but it is strong for a reason. It's actually fairly easy to pilot.
Yeah, it's very forgiving. If you've misplayed, all right, well, I've misdeployed here. Mm-hmm. All right, I've misdeployed 3 of my units somehow. Well, all right.
I think sometimes I don't want to go off on too much of a tangent, but for me, that deployment was one of the biggest and hardest learning curves in 40k, and certainly very true in this edition.
And I still get it wrong now.
You can lose games on bad deployment.
Yeah. I was literally just playing a game where I misplayed my... I was playing the Annihilation Legion, had my Catan, misdeployed him, and he only moved 5 inches. Yeah. So I was it took me 5 turns to get in the middle of the board. Just a slug. Yeah. An absolute slug.
Yeah.
Really good stuff on that one.
Good. And I think... we talked about there's a lot of play in it. So while it's useful for beginner or intermediate players, if you're a really good general, there are loads of wombo combos that you can work up here as well.
Just like the stratagems and stuff that you back on top of the monolith and whatnot. It's just too good.
I mean, the monolith's an interesting one because like 2 or 3 of the strats are based, basically aimed at the monolith. It's very much centered around the monolith.
Give like a vehicle, I think a 4 invuln save, and the monolith doesn't have an invuln save, so immediately you just.
And there's 2 CP strats to like redeploy a unit through the monolith as well.
And then also the charge as well, just after.
That's the one. Sorry, so you can charge if you've come through the monolith's eternity gate. Yeah.
Whereas, and then that would get you like very, really close to a unit.
Virtually unavailable charge, isn't it?
Yeah.
But as we've just talked about, you don't actually have to take monoliths to make this detachment work.
Exactly right. Yeah, because every unit benefits from it in different ways. So it's really, really good.
Good. And this one, I think it's fair to say we both enjoyed playing this one.
Oh yeah, I played it loads when it first came out. It's just like it was because it's one of those ones where if you've got a collection of Necrons, you might only have a certain amount of Necrons for a certain detachment. Yeah. Whereas this one slots in regardless of what units you have. Yeah. So I think it's been played a lot because people have the accessibility. to it.
Yeah, definitely.
Is really, really good. So yeah, I've played it loads. Love the combo with the Night Scythe and the Immortals. Someone shared it to us before.
Yeah.
Apologies, I forgot your name or who it was, but they shared it and I was like, that's unreal.
Yeah, we both completely missed that. But yeah, you can deep strike in the Night Scythe, then drop the Immortals and the Plasmancer out of it, get critical hits on 5s, and at the end of the fight phase...
And then the Arisen Tyrant allows it to reroll.
Reroll all hits, yeah.
And then, and at the end of the fight phase, as you were going to say, you basically put them back into the unit, and then...
into the Night Scythe,
And then at the end of your opponent's turn, you move that unit
and take it off the board,
So...
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It is crazy good. Really good.
So, yeah,
and if you need to, if your opponent's shooting at the Night Scythe, you can spend 1 CP to give it a 4-up in fun.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's naughty.
So overall, absolutely amazing. What about you?
I absolutely love it. I think I like the forgiving side of it, as you talked about, for deployment and mispositioning is very important as you're picking the game up. And you can also... slightly less now because of the way that they've toned some of these... some of the things down, but you could run an absolutely filthy 5 or 6 Catan list in this detachment, which was your opponent's faces just used to drop when you rocked up with that. But I'm a big fan of it, and it's a very. It's not the most fun to play against because it's very tricksy.
Because it gets around the board, hard to get around. Yeah.
But from a playability from a Necron player perspective, then definitely give it a go. Good.
Should we rattle off the last the 5 then in order? So we've got the Canoptic Court being last, the Annihilation Legion being second last, the Obeisance Phalanx, Awakened Dynasty, and then the Hypercup Legion is kind of our
kind of ranking.
Take.
Yeah, that's our take. As we said, if you disagree with us, come at us. And I mean, I'm only joking, but we definitely really would.
We're ready for you. We'll play you.
We'd love to hear what your rankings are and why you rank them in that order. So let us know in the comments. And if you haven't been watching the unit review videos, there's loads of those to go and check out of individual units, and we're working our way through the individual detachments as well. Thank you very much for joining us again, and we'll be back soon with another video.
Thank you.